All right. Why don't we get together and start the Board Governance Committee? Everybody ready? Everybody here? Awesome. Carby, want to call agenda? A roll call. Agenda and roll call.
Oh, for the Director of Finance, Ms. Peralt. Here. Mr. Tang.
Here.
Ms. Yamamoto.
Here.
Ms. Bradford.
Here.
For the State Treasurer, Mr. Ruffino.
Present.
For the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Mr. Patterson.
Present.
Mr. Juarez.
Here.
Chairperson Gunning, you have a quorum.
Awesome. I just want to bang the gavel. There it is. Awesome. I think you have something you'd like to read for us?
Yes. The CalSTRS board meetings are live web streamed, video archived, and available to the public on CalSTRS.com. Individuals who wish to address the board should wait for the 10-minute public comment period at the end of the agenda item the speaker wishes to address. For comments not pertaining to a specific agenda item, there will be an opportunity for additional statements at the end of the open session. Each speaker is allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to comment. However, if there is not enough time for each speaker to have 3 minutes, the timing will be at the discretion of the chair. To protect the privacy of speakers under the age of 18 who wish to address the board, only their first name and affiliated organization may be provided, but other personal identifying information such as their last name, age, or school may not be shared.
Awesome, Carby. Thank you very much. All right, our first item is approval of the agenda. Any comments or additions to the agenda? Agenda's been approved.
Mr. Gunning?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but this meeting was noticed as teleconference, so on all action items, we'd like to do roll call votes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lamont.
Ms. Peralt? Aye. Mr. Tang?
Aye.
Ms. Yamamoto?
Aye.
Ms. Bradford?
Aye.
Mr. Ruffino?
Aye.
Mr. Patterson?
Aye.
Mr. Juarez?
Aye.
Chairperson Gunning, do you care to vote?
Yes, aye. Is that better, Lamont?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to the minutes. Were there any edits or comments about the minutes? Motion, is there a second? It's been moved and second to approve the minutes from May 8th. I'm assuming we need a vote on this as well, my friend?
Yes, please.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Peralt?
Aye.
Mr. Tang?
Aye.
Ms. Yamamoto?
Aye.
Ms. Bradford?
Yes.
Mr. Ruffino?
Aye.
Mr. Patterson?
Aye.
Mr. Juarez?
Aye.
Chairperson Gunning, do you care to vote?
Aye. All right, let's move along to item number 3, but first off, want to acknowledge Mr. Bartow and thank you, Brian, the Bryans. We get Brian 2 subbing in today, so let's kick off item number 3.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir.
This item, we're proposing a policy update to the duties of the board chair and vice chair. In most situations, the CEO or CIO or public affairs speaks on behalf of CalSTRS, but there are some situations which require or lend to the board making a comment. And the revisions that we're proposing here basically codifies what our current practice has been, is for the board chair to speak on behalf of the board. That aligns with best governance practices and helps the board speak with one voice, ensure timely, accurate information is shared. And so we're really proposing to add this section to kind of codify that and put that into the governance manual. I would like to note that we already have a section in this part of the board governance manual where if the chair is unavailable, then the vice chair can step into
Correct.
the shoes of the chair, so that's already been taken care of if the board chair is unavailable. And I'd also like to point out that this proposed addition dovetails with the ethical conduct portion of our governance manual in that it states that board members shouldn't make statements to the media that the board hasn't taken a position on. And so this really dovetails with that, and it does not also restrict board members from speaking as a private person or in a different role. It just, when they're speaking on behalf of the board, if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
So,
Great.
unless there's something Amy would like to add or entertain questions or discussion.
Any comments or questions from board members? Great. No, we discussed this before. I think this is appropriate, and call for the vote.
We'll take public comment first.
Do you have a motion and
Yes.
second?
It's been moved and seconded. Carmi?
Do you have any public comment on this item?
That'd be important, wouldn't it? Is there anyone from members of the public that'd like to comment on this item?
There is no public comment for this item.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Kroll?
Mr. Tang?
Aye.
Ms. Yamamoto?
Aye.
Ms. Bradford?
Yes.
Mr. Ruffino?
Aye.
Mr. Patterson?
Aye.
Mr. Juarez?
Aye.
Chairperson Gunning, would you care to vote?
Aye. Awesome, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Moving on to item 4, policy update. Brian, stage is yours still.
Yeah, this one's also mine. This policy review policy update, it's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful.
If you recall, I think earlier last year, you gave authorizations to the general counsel to make ministerial changes to the manual or non-substantive changes. And then once those changes were made, then the process would be we report those changes back to this committee. So what we're proposing is a similar process, but for investment policies. So what we're proposing is to allow the CIO to first consult with the investment consultant, and then upon approval by the general counsel, to make ministerial or non-substantive changes to investment policies. We keeping in place similar guardrails of getting, consulting with the investment consultant and then getting the general counsel to approve it. However, would like to point out one tweak that we would like to propose to the language that we presented in the written materials, and discussing this recently with investment staff. We would like to propose a slight change to the last provision. Instead of reporting back to the investment committee immediately after the ministerial change is made, we'd like to dovetail that reporting process into their annual report of investment policy changes. So that's current practice now. So instead of adding a parallel or duplicative reporting mechanism for these ministerial changes, we'd like to just pull that into that same annual reporting process, which was part of the investment committee's item yesterday, if you recall. So that's the one minor change to the proposed text that we've presented.
And that's not in the current text here, that's a
Correct.
change,
We would just make the minor change to, as part of an annual summary of investment policy updates in place of that text of immediately after.
Does everyone follow along with that?
I'll move approval.
Well, I guess I'm not clear where that's gonna go. How, the page and paragraph?
Yes, specifically.
Paragraph,
So the third of the proposed text now, the last section, second to last sentence where it says.
on page 2,
It says the investment committee at its next scheduled meeting.
okay,
We would replace that with as part of its annual summary of investment policy updates.
Okay.
So just
It's that third.
changing that out.
okay, thank you.
Awesome, Brian. There was a
I'll still move
motion. Second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments from the public?
There are no comments for this item.
Great, let's move to roll call.
Aye. Mr. Tang?
Aye.
Ms. Yamamoto?
Aye.
Ms. Bradford?
Yes.
Mr. Rufino?
Aye.
Mr. Patterson?
Aye.
Mr. Juarez?
Aye.
Chairperson Gunning, would you care to vote?
Aye. Aye. Awesome, thank you, Brian. All right, moving on to item number 5, information items. The governance consultant request for proposal.
I'd like to just briefly update the committee that we released a request for proposal last Friday, actually, for the governance consultant. So that RFP will take about a month-long process to get bids back. We anticipate doing evaluations in late October timeframe, and we're shooting to do the finalist interviews with this committee at the January committee meeting. So we just wanted to put that on your radar. We kind of mentioned it, I think, in May briefly, so you'll note in the draft agenda for January that we've already put that item in there, which we'll touch on later, but the goal is to have a contract in place by May 2026. And the intent is to award a 5-year contract with 2 one-year options to extend. So I don't know if Cassandra has anything to add, but we
Any
just started
comments?
that process, wanted to bring that forth to you.
Perfect, thank you, Brian. All right, let's move on to item 6.
Mr. Garding, do we have any, I apologize, do we have any comment on item 5?
Anyone want to comment on the contract, item number 5? Samantha?
No public comment for this item.
Okay, great. Thank you, Amon.
And each meeting, we've been presenting, I think in the last year or so, a general counsel's report, and this is one of the things that we use to capture these ministerial changes, which we had none since the last meeting, so this is a pretty sparse report this time. But I do want to point out, this is where you'll note we capture our regular processes to make sure our policies are updated. We have this 5-year review process, so we kind of capture that in this report, that we're still working through that and ensuring that timely review of each policy is made in accordance with policy. I don't know if Amy has anything she'd like to add with education or...
Not much, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. We, as is noted in the report, I should say rather, the board education update has been completed now for this last cycle, and I just wanted to thank the CalSTRS staff, especially Cassandra and Danielle Fong, for all of their work with the updates that were made. We added a mentorship framework, we added a virtual library, we added some pathways, as you all know, because this committee directed that work, and also wanted to thank my team, in particular Saba Hashmi, who's not here today, but I know is watching us, for all of her help and support in that. So this cycle is complete. We'll take another look at it, probably in another 3 years, to make sure that it stays consistent. But as you have feedback, make sure that you let us know that before 3 years. Okay, thank you.
Awesome, thank you, Amy. Do we need comment from the public here?
No public comment.
All right, thank you. Okay, Amy, the fun part. Let's move on to item number 7,
Sure.
board charter, first reading.
Well, thanks, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. Item number 7 is an information item, but if the committee feels comfortable taking action, you may do that. However, there is no pressure from anyone on this side of the dais for you to do that. You might recall that earlier this year, when we were working on the education program, we discovered that it would be a good idea to create a centralized document, a board charter, that identifies all of the board's or summarizes the board's authority, responsibilities, but doesn't restrict or limit you from performing any duties or responsibilities or authorities that may not be in this document. We use the board charter in a number of different areas. It can be useful, for example, for new trustee onboarding, and Ms. Bradford and Ms. Yamamoto, I know those are events that you've participated in when we've been there talking through what is the role of the board? Who serves on this board? What is the authority of the board? And how does that flow into your annual board and committee work plans? So it can be a very useful tool for onboarding, but also annually for the practice of board self-evaluation. You want to be able to look and say, how well are we accomplishing the things that we set out to do? So in terms of a good governance principle, if you think about the tenet of having clarity in your role and being able to clearly identify that, this aids that process in that practice. And so as the committee directed, we set out and we worked closely with your general counsel's office to develop this charter. It's hopefully, in your eyes, it's succinct but comprehensive, and it can be that tool to serve the purpose that I just mentioned, a couple of the purposes that I just mentioned. You already have committee charters. You'll see where the placement of this board charter is suggested, which is at the beginning of Section 3 of your governance manual, which contains the committee charters right now. So all in all, it should provide a comprehensive knitting of what responsibilities look like, so that if we were to pull up your board work plan and committee work plans every year, we'd be able to create that crosswalk that we were looking for. So, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions and would be very curious to get the committee's thoughts and input on what changes we might want to make to this to make it fit for purpose in your eyes.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
I think Mr. Juarez has a...
Yeah, I recall when we first discussed this, I was probably a little dubious about the need for it. But after having gone through it a little bit closer and talking with you, Amy, I've become convinced that it will help us, just to have a touchstone back to what our authorities are, what our responsibilities are. And so I'm all in favor, and I don't see why we would need to go through a second reading. I'm happy to take action on it today, and if the committee were so willing, I'll go ahead and move it. So I'll second it.
Karen?
Okay, hi, thank you. The only thing I have is just a little detail on page 3 of the clean copy, just the numbering. It's just a little detail.
Nice catch, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's the only thing that I have, but otherwise.
Nice catch, thank you. I would like to comment, I think this is something that's important. This is one of the things Ken and I talked about as new board members, at least some sort of guide for you to look at and understand your roles and responsibilities. So very appreciative of the process, Amy, and thank you for the motion, Steve. And second, Ken, I think we'd like to go ahead and take action, but before, any comments from the public?
No comments on this item.
Awesome. With that, then, let's take a vote.
Ms. Peralt? Aye. Mr. Tang?
Aye.
Ms. Yamamoto?
Aye.
Ms. Bradford?
Yes.
Mr. Ruffino?
Aye.
Mr. Patterson?
Aye.
Mr. Juarez?
Aye.
Chairperson Gunning, do you care to vote?
Aye. Thank you, team. That was good. Okay. Item number 8, review of information. Nothing there?
We did not have any information requests. Thank you.
Great. Anyone had a chance to look at the draft agenda for next meeting? Any comments or additions to that? None? Good. And final?
I just have one thing where it says, I know Brian had mentioned something earlier about number 5, governance consultant finalist interviews. Will that, what does that look like? What is that going to be?
It will be similar to the last 2 that you've done in the room where the finalists will be interviewed by the committee.
Committee
Yes,
during open session?
correct.
Okay. Thanks.
Great. Last item, any comments from the public?
We do have one caller. If we could please get a 3-minute timer. Our speaker is Jody. Jody, go ahead. This is item 10. Go ahead when you're ready.
Yes, thank you. Hi, I'm a retired teacher from Berkeley Unified School District. As a Jewish educator, I visited Palestine 4 times. I follow the news from Gaza closely, and I have friends who've lost as many as 70 family members in Gaza. As a retired California teacher, I'm appalled that CalSTRS is still invested in what the entire world recognizes as a genocide. We teach our students to think critically about justice, and how can our retirement system fail to do the same? So I really urge that that we divest immediately from Palantir, Caterpillar, Lockheed Martin, Elbit, and all the other companies that are participating in Israel's genocide of Palestinians. And please meet immediately with members of the CalSTRS divestment campaign. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. That is the conclusion of public comment for item 10.
All right, thank you. Yes.
I noticed that we still have on the agenda something that we just passed, so I don't know if that needs to be changed, amended. Since we passed the charter for the board, it's scheduled for the next meeting. It won't be on the next meeting because we just passed it, so just make a note of it, I guess.
Yeah, we'll make changes as
Great.
the agenda, to the agenda.
Thank you, Steve. Good. Any comments from any other board members? Seeing none? Anything else from you? Amy, final words?
Just thank you to the committee for all of your continued direction.
Awesome. Thank you. Then the governance committee is adjourned.